calls for respect after controversial Lions vs. Wallabies referee decision. But here's where it gets controversial. The rugby world is now debating whether public criticism of match officials is fair, even as players and fans grapple with the fallout from a dramatic call during a high-stakes test match. World Rugby's chief executive, Alan Gilpin, has sparked debate by emphasizing that the mental health of referees, often overlooked in sports, must be prioritized. After the Wallabies coach Joe Schmidt publicly criticized the Italian referee Andrea Piardi for allowing the British-Irish Lions to secure a crucial try. Gilpin called the reaction disappointing and warned that such outbursts could harm referees' well-being. "We've got match officials who, when they're criticized publicly, are having their families targeted outside the school gates," he said, highlighting the external pressure referees face today. This raises a critical question. Should players and fans be allowed to voice their frustrations, or does this risk undermining the integrity of the game? The controversy deepens as World Rugby chairman Brett Robinson echoed Gilpin's concerns, noting that referee Nic Berry, whose performance was attacked by Springboks coach Rassie Erasmus during the 2021 Lions tour, is still recovering from the abuse. Robinson emphasized that such treatment reinforces why we must protect our officials, a sentiment that resonates with many who view referees as the backbone of the sport. Yet, critics argue that public scrutiny can be weaponized to silence dissent, especially when officials are forced to navigate delicate situations. "Everyone knows we're putting player welfare at the top of the agenda," Gilpin stated, but the line between accountability and fairness remains blurred. The debate extends to the broader implications of officiating. While World Rugby insists its post-match reviews will remain confidential, Schmidt's comments about failing to penalize Jac Morgan for a contact with Carlo Tizzano have ignited further debate. Gilpin defended the decision, calling it a routine part of the game, but opponents argue it undermines the sport's commitment to player safety. "It's disappointing when the reaction is, 'This means player welfare isn't taken seriously,'" he said, stressing that the focus is on protecting players, not just punishing mistakes. As the rugby calendar unfolds, so too does the tension between tradition and innovation. The proposed R360 Rebel League, backed by prominent figures, aims to restructure the sport's financial model, but its potential to drive sustainable growth remains uncertain. Meanwhile, the 2026 Nations Cup, set to feature a 24-team tournament, promises to redefine competition structure. World Rugby's organizers are already preparing for the 2027 Rugby World Cup in Australia, with limited superfan passes set to debut next week, signaling a shift toward fan engagement. In a world where every play carries weight, the role of referees and the courage to defend their decisions has never been more vital. As the game evolves, the challenge lies in balancing transparency with respect for the officials who ensure fairness on the pitch. Whether through policy changes, increased support for referees, or fostering open dialogue, the rugby community must find a way to honor the sacrifices these individuals make without compromising the integrity of the sport. Lions vs. Wallabies. Was the winning try really legal? Ex-ref explains the controversy. Rugby's refereeing conundrum. Can you really have it both ways? Imagine a sport where the rules seem to bend and twist depending on the hemisphere you're in. Welcome to the world of rugby, where a recent controversy surrounding the British and Irish Lions has exposed a deeper issue. Owen Doyle, former director of referees at the Irish Rugby Football Union, has weighed in on the debate, and his insights are eye-opening. The spark: Jac Morgan's clearout. The incident in question involves Jac Morgan's clearout on Carlo Tizzano, which led to Hugo Keenan's match-winning try for the British and Irish Lions. Opinions are sharply divided, with Lions boss Andy Farrell praising the clearout, while Wallabies coach Joe Schmidt vehemently disagrees, calling it illegal. Doyle's dilemma: you can't have it both ways. In his Irish Times column, Doyle broadened the discussion to the inconsistent officiating of the breakdown across the two hemispheres. He noted that the Southern Hemisphere tends to be more lenient. Doyle wrote, "I know Joe Schmidt's meticulous analysis of referees, yet he's outraged by the decision. I'd remind him and some coaches that they previously condoned foul play as part of the game. You can't have it both ways." The lose-lose situation for referees. Doyle sympathizes with referee Andrea Piardi, who under immense pressure checked the incident on screen and concluded there was no foul play. "This is hotly disputed," Doyle understated. Piardi faced a no-win situation, with the guns of half the world trained on him, regardless of his decision. A far bigger problem: inconsistent breakdown officiating. For Doyle, the real issue lies in the distinct disparity in refereeing the breakdown. Some officials enforce side entry and sealing off rules, while others turn a blind eye. This disparity is where the issue lies. The relevant laws need to be reinforced, not overridden by protocols. Doyle advocates for consistent refereeing, which might require a World Rugby decree and agreement from all competition owners. But here's where it gets controversial. Should referees prioritize consistency over the nuances of each match? Is the current laissez-faire approach to officiating at the breakdown a recipe for disaster? We want to hear from you. Do you agree with Doyle's assessment of the breakdown officiating disparity? Should World Rugby intervene to enforce consistent refereeing? Share your thoughts on the balance between consistency and match-specific refereeing decisions. Related stories. Sam Warburton's surprising take on the contentious Lions versus Wallabies decisions. David Campace's forthright verdict on the elephant in the room and Joe Schmidt's potential humiliation. World Rugby's stance on Joe Schmidt's ref bashing ahead of the Lions match winner. British and Irish Lions. World Rugby boss rejects Joe Schmidt's clearout complaints. Rugby fans are up in arms after a controversial call in the British and Irish Lions versus Australia match. But here's where it gets even more heated. World Rugby's boss has slammed the door on Joe Schmidt's complaints about player safety. Was this a fair call, or did the officials prioritize the game's outcome over player welfare? In a thrilling second test at Melbourne's iconic MCG, the Lions secured a last-gasp victory thanks to Hugo Keenan's try. However, the build-up to this decisive moment has sparked a fiery debate. Wallabies coach Joe Schmidt argued that the officials' decision to allow a clear-out by Lions flanker Jac Morgan contradicted World Rugby's player welfare initiatives. Schmidt claimed the call fell short of the sport's safety standards, citing Law 9.20, which prohibits contact above the shoulders during rucks or mauls. But World Rugby CEO Alan Gilpin disagrees. Speaking on the Rugby Union Weekly podcast in Sydney, Gilpin defended the decision, emphasizing the delicate balance between rugby's physicality and player safety. "It's a massively important but tricky balance," he explained, highlighting World Rugby's significant investments in player welfare, such as instrumented mouthguards and scientific research. And this is the part most people miss. Gilpin acknowledged the complexity of rugby's laws and their interpretations, admitting that while this can lead to controversy and frustration, it also fuels passionate discussions about the sport. "It gets everyone talking about rugby positively," he added. The incident in question occurred as the Lions attacked near Australia's try line. Wallabies flanker Carlo Tizzano attempted to jackal the ball, but Morgan drove into him, making contact with his neck and shoulder area. Referee Andrea Piardi deemed Morgan's action a legitimate ruck, despite Tizzano's head being below his waist. After consulting the television match official, Piardi upheld the try, ruling no penalty. Schmidt's frustration is understandable, but Gilpin insists that referees make over 800 decisions per game under immense pressure. "We've got to back our officials," he said, adding that as long as they follow the correct process, World Rugby will support them. But here's the controversial question. Should referee decisions in such high-stakes moments be made public to ensure transparency? Australia, do you think World Rugby is doing enough to protect players, or is there more work to be done? Let us know in the comments below.